Welcome to Act Out. I'm Eleanor Goldfield, and this is your tipping point. There have been so many despicable acts emanating from the new administration that even if this were a daily show, it'd be damn near impossible to cover them all. From slashing regulations to walls, to bans, to personnel choices, to reinstating the global gag rule, which prevents foreign organizations receiving U.S. government funding from not only performing, but even discussing abortions. It's been a long 2.5 weeks. And hell, by the time you actually watch this, there might even be more shit to pile onto that already monstrous mountain of refuse. But it's important to recognize that this steaming pile is not all Trump's doing. Yes, God, I wish it were. But presidents and administrations have been lobbing the waste of human common sense and decency onto our exceptional American system for quite some time. Sure, Obama might look good from where you're standing, but if you step outside party lines, you'll see that Obama was no picnic for the people or planet. For example, Trump is all about building this border wall to keep out those lazy Mexicans that work so hard to steal our jobs. However, that makes sense. Leaving aside the fact that Congress would still have to okay any budget for this amazingly stupid venture, which, side note, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and Dianne Feinstein all voted for back in '06. Obama has already proven that you don't need a wall to be an asshole on immigration. Already by 2015, Obama had deported roughly 2.5 million people, more than any other president in U.S. history. More, in fact, than all of the 20th century presidents combined. Sit with that for a second. Okay, how about international affairs? In late January, Glenn Greenwald penned this piece for The Intercept with a title that pretty much sums up that aforementioned collaborative dung heap. Obama killed a 16-year-old American in Yemen. Trump just killed his 8-year-old sister. In 2010, Obama ordered a CIA drone strike that killed 16-year-old Colorado-born Abdul Rahman al-Awlaki 2 weeks after another CIA drone killed his father, Anwar al-Awlaki, also an American citizen. Obama's administration claimed the killing of the son was collateral damage, but never shied away from the killing of the father, despite the fact that as an American citizen, Anwar had the right to a trial and due process. And his son, well, what kind of protection should he have had? Or his American citizen sister who was just killed last week? Both kids, both innocent victims, the collateral damage of our ongoing wars in the Middle East. And the most recent Muslim ban is just another symptom, although undoubtedly unique and grotesque, of Islamophobia and war-fueled hateful rhetoric. Indeed, 6 of the 7 countries on Trump's blacklist have been bombed by the U.S. in the recent past, or are currently being bombed by the U.S., Yemen included. Senator Chris Murphy tweeted this pointed statement a couple of weeks ago. "We bomb your country, creating a humanitarian nightmare, then lock you inside. That's a horror movie, not a foreign policy." Except that this horror movie is our foreign policy and has been for decades. Like the inevitable, unbelievable, and fucking awful 20 sequels to Saw or Halloween. As of now, Iran is the only country on that list that hasn't been bombed by us recently, but hey, give it a few weeks, because Iran announced last week that it will cease to use the US dollar in its financial and foreign exchange reports starting March 21st. Citing the issues that Iran has had with U.S. politicians and the latest travel ban, Iran's move could have a severe impact on the U.S. economy. And here's a quick rundown on how. In the 70s, Saudi Arabia signed a deal with then-President Nixon to, quote, maintain the dollar as the standard oil exchange currency in exchange for military support from America. The rest of OPEC, including Iran, jumped on board with the dollar standard agreement. Fast forward to today, and OPEC countries account for 42% of oil production and over 70% of global oil reserves. And because of the immense economic machine that OPEC is, they help to bolster the dollar, keeping it as the world's reserve currency, thereby keeping our economy from appearing as shitty and faulty as it really is. But if Iran, who holds 13% of OPEC's oil reserves, cashes out, so to speak, that threatens our glass house on a hill. So what's the plan? Is Trump going to go 7 for 7? It's very possible, especially after the announcement of sanctions renewal or indeed the introduction in the House of House Joint Resolution 10, which is matter-of-factly called Authorization of Use of Force Against Iran Resolution. HJR 10 authorizes the president to use the U.S. armed forces as necessary in order to prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. Where have I heard that before? Something, they have weapons, we have to bomb them. Iraq? The Bush and Cheney days? Or how about when Libya, a smaller oil-producing nation than Iran, threatened to shift from the petrodollar just before getting the shit bombed out of it by good old Uncle Sam and your favorite shill on the hill, Hillary Clinton. It's almost like administrations have just been making shit up in order to bomb the Middle East for decades. It's that sequel to the sequel to the sequel, and much like a shitty horror movie sequel, the killer only kills because he or she enjoys it. Not because some imminent threat to their safety. No one's threatening to stick an Uzi down Mike Myers' throat, thereby requiring him to defend himself with a rusty old kitchen knife. No. We, much like Mike Myers, but even more sick as we don a mask of democracy and justice, we do this because America, and because money. Which of the 7 nations in Trump's travel ban actually pose a threat to us? 0. 0 Americans have been killed by terrorists from any of the countries included in the Muslim ban. Saudi Arabia, however, is home to 15 of the 9/11 hijackers, a well-known funder of terrorist organizations and the founders of Wahhabism, the extremist version of Islam that Al-Qaeda and ISIS subscribe to. Saudi Arabia is also home to 8 of Trump's companies tied to hotel interests. Clinton, too, was no stranger to Saudi cash, getting millions from both private persons and organizations directly tied to the kingdom. As Secretary of State, she was more than cozy with the kingdom while somehow also being a beacon of feminism. That's kind of like that lazy Mexicans work hard to steal our jobs kind of sentence. Anyway, also left off the list were Egypt, the United Arab Emirates, and Turkey, countries that have all directly produced terrorists or aided existing groups. For example, Turkey's penchant for training and sheltering members of ISIS. These countries also have Trump in common. Whether that be LLCs in Egypt, golf courses in the UAE, or high-rises in Turkey. So take note, Iran. If you want to avoid getting bombed, hold on to that dollar and open yourself up to Father Capitalism and his bastard son Trump. Because again, that's what it's all about. The travel ban and the bombs have never been about our safety. Because newsflash, you can't bomb people into submission. You can only bomb them into extremism. And that's exactly what we're doing. Either directly or through proxy wars via our aforementioned allies, the Saudis. And we'll dive deeper into the House of Saud in a minute, but let's first keep tracing that red thread of American exceptionalism. As Greenwald writes in the aforementioned article, quote, "Some of the current abuses are the decades-old byproduct of a mindset and system of war and executive powers that all need uprooting. Obscuring these facts or allowing those responsible to posture as opponents of all of this is not just misleading, but counterproductive. Much of this resides on an odious continuum and did not just appear out of nowhere. The whole damn system is guilty as hell. This isn't just about Trump, and as I've said before, it can't be. What's happening right now has roots. This isn't the rise of a new world order, it's the continuation of one. For example, the threat of a coup from Trump's administration, a white and gold overthrow of the workings of our system, is in many a journalist's inkwells at the moment. And yes, Stephen Bannon is not fucking around, that's quite clear. As Trump's top aide and now brazen infiltrator of the inner circles of the National Security Council, Bannon's nationalistic dictatorial drive is not something to downplay. Indeed, the regime's main organizational goal right now is to transfer all effective power to a tight inner circle, eliminating any possible checks from either the federal bureaucracy, Congress, or the courts. Departments are being reorganized or purged to effect this. But even here, the groundwork was laid long before Trump hit the campaign trail. Truly, Obama left Trump a dangerous amount of power previously unavailable to a president. For example, the largest surveillance system in the history of mankind, the NDAA, which we discussed in episode 95, the indefinite detention power couched within it, the Espionage Act prosecutions which Obama used on more whistleblowers than any president before him, the aforementioned targeted killings, and one of the most beefed up military budgets of all time. Obama left with a wildly non-transparent, trigger-happy, and in many ways unaccountable office waiting to be filled. Trump, Bannon, and the whole white-hooded circus are now taking advantage of these tools and finding new ones to consolidate power and rise above checks and balances.